I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Rome Pre-Owned Sales, located at 949 Floyd Avenue in Rome. If you're in the market for a quality pre-owned vehicle and great customer service, make sure you check them out. A special thank you to General Manager Anthony Mariani for his support of the Rockpile Sports Network and local sports here in the Mohawk Valley. Your sponsorship truly helps us continue to highlight our athletes, coaches, and teams. If you or your business are interested in sponsoring the Rockpile Sports Network, feel free to reach out to me directly at coachkorg23@gmail.com. Let's welcome everybody to the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch here on Sunday morning. Welcome to the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch. Thanks for making us part of your Sunday morning here. I had a little technical difficulties here with the promo, so hopefully everybody can hear me loud and clear here this morning. Great show here on the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch this morning. In just a little bit, we'll talk to one of Rome's finest athletes, Tyler Schauff. I believe Tyler's going to be live from Florida. And then at the bottom of the hour at about 9:30, we'll have New Hartford head girls volleyball coach Billy Gardner set to join me to talk about their season 17-0. His team will be a candidate, which I'll release tomorrow, for my January Rockpile Sports Network Team of the Month. So we'll see a lot of good recipients for that. So we'll have to see who I end up choosing. A lot of good teams had a really good month of January. We'll talk to Coach a little bit about the RFA rivalry. I just had Coach Pete on last weekend, and they just played Rome this past week. So we'll talk to Coach and more. So let's run through some of the local scores. We'll start with boys basketball from yesterday. Sandy Creek 53-40 over South Louis. As I always say, for the last 10 years, a stat man would always say, Sandy Creek is where seasons go to die. We had a Lime 66-35 over Edwards Knock. Carthage moves to 12-2. They beat VVS 55-33. Ithaca beat South Jefferson 74-71. Oswego beats Cortland 58-53. Oswego's playing some pretty good basketball here as of late. Fulton beat Corcoran 76-60. Fayetteville Manlius beat Central Square 71-56. Fonda Fultonville beat Herkimer 57-46. Beaver River beat Thousand Islands 50-47. Alexandria beat Lafargeville 47-33. Green Tech beat Utica Academy of Science 86-50. CBA Albany beat CBA Christian Brothers Academy 79-50. Weedsport 76-56 over on Tech. Weedsport moves to 13-3. And Indian River 52-49 over Watertown. On the girls' side yesterday, and I'll get to one of the scores I commented, you'll see it. There's always a lopsided score on the girls' side. So when I get to it, you'll know who I'm talking about. We can see if we can talk a little bit more about that here in just a little bit. Thousand Islands beats Sandy Creek 42-40. Thousand Islands moves to 10-4. APW beat Belleville Henderson 44-25. Central Square beat Fayetteville Manlius 55-38. Oneida beat Mexico 33-31. Onondaga beat Hannibal 67-34. Frankfort Schuyler girls moved to 14-1 on the season. They beat Adirondack 77-26. Canastota beat Madison 39-30. Owego beat Homer 54-49. And here's the score I was talking about. Lafargeville, who moves to 11-2. They beat Alexandria 58-8. I saw this last night. It was posted on social media. I had to go in there and see if that was a typo. It was not 58-8. So I don't know if anybody was at that game, wants to shoot me some comments, because I just don't think I don't know. I know there's a lot of things that happen through our games and we get some lopsided scores, but I'm not sure that one makes a lot of sense to me. But anyways, let's move on. Little Falls 44-42 over Hamilton. I should say that one might have been a little bit of an upset because Hamilton's 11-3 and Little Falls moves to 7-8. Skinny Atlas beat General Brown 51-49, And Janesville DeWitt beat Oswego 57-45. Janesville DeWitt women move to 9-3. Volleyball side, the only match yesterday on the boys' side was Proctor. They beat Little Falls 3-0. Proctor now moves to 7-2. On the girls' side, Carthage beat General Brown 3-0. New Hartford, we'll talk to Coach Gardner here at the bottom of the hour. They moved to 17-0 as they beat Proctor 3-0. Faith Heritage beat Manly's Pebble Hill 3-2. Watertown beat South Jeff 3-1. And Little Falls beat Herkimer. They moved to 14-4. And then Rome Free Academy, who, again, just had a tough loss to New Hartford last week. RFA moves to 17-2. They beat Whitesboro 3-0. I would think that we will possibly see a third time that Rome Free Academy plays New Hartford potentially for a Section 3 title. We'll get into more of that at the bottom of the hour. Beaver River moves to 11-0. They beat South Louis 3-0. And then Remsen, they moved to 13-3. They beat Dodgeville 3-1. Watertown beat Carthage 3-0. And Clinton upsets Cooperstown 3-1. Cooperstown moves to 12-3. Clinton moves to 7-11. Canastota beats Adirondack 3-0. And locally, VVS beats Camden 3-1. VVS moves to 10-7. So in just a little bit, we'll talk to Tyler Schauff. I'll bring him on in just a minute. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. Up at the top, there's a barcode if you want to scan it. I do have some Rockpile merchandise, a lot to choose from. So get in there and pick up your sweatshirt or hat, whatever you need. It's all up there on the website. So we got Tyler on. I'm going to bring him on. I don't want to keep him waiting anymore. Tyler, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, Rock.
You're welcome. It's I think it's been a year since we talked last. So lots happened with you in the past year.
I think it might have been longer than that. Yeah, I think if I remember, it might have been 2023.
Oh, gotcha, man. It's been that long, man. Time flies.
It does.
Well,
It really has been.
yeah, man. So you're in Florida, right?
Yep, in Florida. Got down here early. They brought down all the rehab guys early. All the guys who got surgery last year, at least the pitchers. So I've been down here. This is going on 3-4 weeks already.
So let's talk. I'm going to kind of jump around here with you. I want to talk first about, when you got the call up from AA to AAA last year, where were you and what was that feeling like for you?
We were in New Hampshire, and it was just like pregame. I wasn't at the field yet, and it was kind of weird because my pitching coach called me, and he, no, they don't usually call you, and he's like, "Hey, where are you?" And I was like, "I'm at the hotel," and he's like, "Okay, well, when you get to the field, come see me." And I was like, "Okay." Kind of had a little feeling something was off. My agent had told me like, "Hey, there might be some moves. Watch out." So then I get to the field, and they call me in, and they, send me up to AAA. So I was all the way in New Hampshire. So I had to rent a car and drive to Rochester. So that was like a 5-6 hour drive, but I was excited, obviously. And then had to be ready to play the next day. So that was really cool.
So what was that feeling for you like? Because from AA to AAA, I mean, it takes a long time for some people. They never get there. But how much different is that competition just from that level to get to AAA? Like, how much different is it?
It's noticeable. They call it 4A for a reason. Like a lot of those guys can play on the big league squad. It's just, they can't always stay there. But there's some dudes there who, you know, you can put, in AA you throw a pitch that puts a guy away. In AAA you throw that, they foul that off 5 times in a row. You got to throw something better than that. It's just the little things like that. And then you make a mistake, sometimes in AAA or sometimes in AA, the guy might miss it just because they're a little more raw, kind of more, not polished. The guys in AAA, you make a mistake, you're getting paid for it. So the margin of error is definitely a lot smaller. So you really have to be fine with your pitches, and more thinking goes into it. I mean, I like it, but yeah, it's definitely have to be really careful with what you throw.
Would you feel you were doing well that made you get the call up? I know you were pitching well, you had some good outings, but what'd you feel?
I mean, I think I showed, like, before I got called up, and the years prior, I showed that I throw strikes, and I showed that I can punch guys out. I can strike guys out. So that's a lot of what teams value now, especially if you're coming out of the bullpen. They want guys who miss barrels and guys who strike guys out. So I've showed that I can do that. So I mean, I think that's honestly what I showed to get the call up, and then I think other than, the outing that I got hurt in, I showed that I had a decent amount of strikeouts. So I was able to continue that in the AAA level, which I'm very grateful for in a
And
small
I know
sample
on
size, but
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, unfortunately, I think the injury happened not too long after the call up, and what do you
yeah.
remember about that outing? What didn't feel right?
The whole game, it was really just one of those games. It was a blowout. It was literally like a football score. You don't want to say this, but it's one of those outings to where everybody's in the bullpen and everybody's kind of hoping it's not them going in the game, just because it's like no one wants to pitch in you're losing by 15 runs. It's not the best to pitch in, but then once you get your name called, you got to flip that switch and go. And I was ready, definitely ready to go. We had some guys who kind of it was a weird day. We cut some guys before the game. We had some guys who had some prior injuries who were kind of not on the list to pitch, so we were kind of limited. So I had a feeling I might pitch, but then I got in the game. I felt okay, but the wind was howling out. I remember it was like 20, 30 miles an hour straight out. I think I got one or two outs, and then I hung a slider, and this guy deposited it like 500 feet, home run. I was like, all right, whatever. Get the next guy out, go out for the next inning, and I was just kind of laboring. Didn't feel like I had 100% of my stuff. I think velocity was a little bit down. It just really just felt like I didn't have that oomph. I don't know what you want to call it, but it just didn't feel like I had my exact stuff. And I remember I threw a slider a couple pitches before, and I felt like I kind of reached for it, and I'm like, that kind of felt a little weird. I kind of pulled it into the lefty batter's box, and then it was the pitch that it happened on was a start of a new at bat, and I just threw a heater down the middle, and I threw it, and I felt something just pull underneath my armpit, and didn't feel right. I remember I immediately reached for it. I knew something was wrong. Catcher knew something was wrong. I think he called time, and they came out and saw me, and I knew something was wrong, and I didn't even try throwing another pitch because I knew, like, I've never had. I hurt my oblique the year prior, but I never had something of this severe to my arm, at least, and I knew something wasn't right.
And I think, Ty, this was the first major injury that you've had, in your young career, and how hard was that mentally for you to process that? Not only surgery, but I think it's been what, 4 to 5 months for rehab for you?
Yeah, it's for first surgery, and then I got the surgery May 19th. So however many months that is, 7, 8 months. Yeah, it's been, definitely better now, but the months after it, it's not the best mentally, but what are you gonna do? You gotta push through it. Mentally, being in the sling for six weeks wasn't fun. It was just a whole kind of understanding that, hey, this whole season's lost, and you're gonna have to come back next season and be 100%, and just knowing that you got to buy in and just trust the process. It's not the best, not the funnest, but I just got to do it. So I mean, I had some lucky to have some people around me who helped me through the process. Really grateful for friends, family, for the guys and I was rehabbing with, that helped me through it. And I think I'm definitely in a better place now. But the couple weeks to months afterwards were, you know, definitely don't want to do that again.
Yeah, and we know how much baseball, tests you mentally and like all sports do. What'd you learn from yourself through this process? Because I know a lot of people would say to themselves, "Hey, this surgery is going to get me down. It takes a long time." Like I said, some people don't ever even make it to AAA, and here you are, you get your shot, you get an injury that you fall back a little bit. But what'd you learn about yourself through all this?
Think I just learned that, this isn't, the first time something bad's happened to me. So it's just, I think I just learned that, you really, I just there's another gear that I can work harder. I really did everything I could to make sure, after surgery, I lost some weight, you lose muscle, trying to make sure to get back to that level you're at before and some. Just learned that bad things are going to happen. It's never going to be a smooth road, as I've kind of I've known that. And it just really enjoying the process of working hard, because it's a grind in the minor leagues, and I've been lucky enough to be here since 2021. So I'm really grateful for that. Just another bump in the road. Just really learned that I while there is some bad stuff that can happen, I've learned that ultimately I'm going to push through it because there is no other option. So that's kind of what I was able to learn about myself. Just another obstacle to go through, and that this isn't something I've done, but I'm ready to kind of push past it, and it's something that obviously can be done. Um, Given it's kind of a unique injury, it obviously can be done.
So you made a trip home. You always come home and do your clinic this way for the young kids. And growing up for me, it was all the kids wanted to be Arquis and Fracco, who played in the big leagues. And now you got all these
Mhm.
young kids in Rome now that say they want to be the next Tyler Schauff. How important it is for you to come home and still give back to this community?
It really is awesome. I don't it's kind of hard to describe the feeling of it, just seeing all these kids, just and honestly, I think the big thing is remembering when I was in that situation. Remember when I was in Little League, I remember I would go to like the Rome Thunderbolt camps and stuff like that, and I thought those were awesome. So I mean, just to be able to just, I don't think I realize how, I guess, cool of a situation I'm in because a lot of these kids, it's just how they smile and really enjoy everything that, I'm able to hopefully provide for them it's really something. And honestly, you just saying, kids nowadays saying that they want to be the new Tyler Schauff, that makes me feel great. It's really hard to describe.
Yeah, I always think it's so special to give back. And, I always used to tell kids now, even kids that played for me many years ago, it's remember where you came from. And, you're one of those guys that coming back, and it means more to these young kids to be here with you and have those goals and dreams of someday playing, in the big leagues. So to have somebody be able to tell a story like you have, I think that's always important. So let's talk about now spring training for you. You're looking towards spring training. So for you physically, where are you at mentally? I know you've been talking about it here, but where are you at physically?
Physically, so if I was a normal person, I'm back to normal life. I'm like, 100% back strength wise everywhere. Weight, strength, everything back there. As far as for like baseball conditioning, I'd say I'm probably 75-ish% through the process. So I'm not on the mound yet. I've been playing catch on the mound, but not throwing down to a catcher. So it's a whole process as far as my throwing progression. I was able to I did it a lot of it at home at SPI, which I'm very grateful for. I had some great guys there. Shout out Ryan McNamara, he's my physical therapist there. Um, and I was just kind of on like a pretty rigid throwing program, just certain amount of throws at a certain distance. Work out to this and then come in. And we've had a whole kind of overthrow of our whole organization. We have new coaches, new front office, new coordinators, new everything. So it's a lot of new stuff since I've been down here. So now that I'm down here, a lot of the throwing is more subjective to where I'm doing a lot more throws on the radar gun saying, hey, today is going to be a low day. So we want you at this threshold today, which is high. We want you on a high day, which is usually Tuesdays and Fridays for me now, to where, we want you kind of stepping on it a little bit. We want you right now where I'm at. I'm kind of in the low 80s miles an hour, 81 to 85, working on that threshold, kind of just introducing to the body, more stress and kind of just trying to show the muscle and slowly speed the body up, which is kind of the whole progression. And then in a month, I think 3 or 4 weeks, I'll be starting bullpens.
So Tyler, for like some young athletes that are dealing with some injuries and even some guys in college, from this area and even not around the Mohawk Valley, just in general, what would be some words of advice you'd have for them?
I'd say that use that time to come back stronger. They say guys who get Tommy John come back throwing harder. It's not because of the surgery. It's because if they were diligent in their work, they did their rehab good. They strengthened the muscles around it, and therefore were able to come out better than they were prior. It's not just because of the surgery. So it's I don't think it's really important to not become complacent and kind of just you know not buy into whether it's your ACL injury, the leg exercises, or if you're shoulder or injury like me, kind of just going through the motions with the shoulder strengthening. Make sure that you really buy into that stuff because ultimately that stuff that's what makes you come out better.
So now will you be ready for opening day for spring training, or is it pushed back and do you start in double A and have to get called up again? Where do you start and what's that process look like?
Yeah, I'm gonna be a little delayed. I think as far as everything goes, if it goes smoothly, I'll be starting in games in May. So I'm gonna stay down here for what they call extended spring training, and then I'll be in here in Mayish. And then I'm not sure if they're gonna start me. They start you on a rehab assignment. So you basically have, I think it's 30 days or so to basically start in the lower levels that you were before you got hurt, and basically kind of just like work your way back into up to the level. You see big leaguers do it all the time when they get sent to the minors and have outings and stuff, basically just to face hitters and to, feel getting back into game shape and then get back to the level you were at. So honestly, I have no clue. I'll know more once we get closer, but I just know that I'll probably start in the lower A levels. They'll have me some outings there, and then hopefully, as everything goes good, you kind of get moved up and then assigned to a team once that time's over with.
So the last one I have for you here is when you finally get that call, and you're stepping on the mound again. What do you think that moment's going to feel like for you to be back there?
It's gonna feel special. I mean, I'm getting kind of goosebumps right now just because even just throwing right now and trying to put some more intent in the ball, it feels weird because I haven't done it in so long. So I mean, to be able to, I've been trying to think in my mind. I do a lot of visualization, trying to think in my mind what it's going to feel like when I really get back on the mound because it's been so long. But I mean, it's not going to be any different because I've been doing it for so many years. But it's been since April 30th or whatever it was when I got hurt last year that I was on the mound. So I just think it's going to be special. It's going to feel a little weird just because it's been so long, but I think I'm just really itching at the bit to get back there, make sure that I get back healthy and I stay healthy. That's really what I've been working on.
Is it in the 80s where you're at? Because it's like minus 15 below zero out here. We got a ton of snow, which I know you're used to from being from here. But what's it like there? 70s, 80s?
It's been. I think I brought the cold down with me. It's actually been right now. Well, I'm actually across the state in Sarasota. I'm visiting my girlfriend, but in here and in West Palm Beach, which is even supposed to be warmer than this side of the state, it's. I woke up and it was 38 today, so it's still cold. It's and there and even last week when I was training in the morning, it was 50s. And I think Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week it's supposed to be low of 30s, high of 50s. So it's hitting the whole country it seems.
We'll send you some of this minus 15, minus 10. And we'll send you some of the snow, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming out with me. I know I always reach out to you. We're proud of you, man. And I know you'll get back healthier, stronger than ever. And let's do it again sometime during the year.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate everything, Rock. Let me know. I'm glad to be on the show. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Good luck to you. Keep in touch.
Thank you. Sounds good.
You got it. So that was Tyler Schauff, and he's always been so good to me, like a lot of the guests that I have on here. And his first injury for him, he's battled through it. I follow him on social media. He's working hard, and there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to come back stronger than ever, and he'll get another call up. And when I asked him the question about what's it going to be like for you when you steps back on that mound, because when you come back from any injury, that athlete's always a little timid, a little nervous to let it rip at 100%, 110%. And when you get back out there in that stage that he's been on, and I know he'll get back to, I'm sure he'll be a little nervous. So once that pitch is thrown, I'm sure those nerves go away, just like in any sport. So thanks to Tyler for jumping on with me here this morning. Up next, we're going to talk New Hartford girls volleyball with Billy Gardner. His girls moved to 17-0. He's going to have to compete with his brother because I got a lot of people messaging me saying Notre Dame girls should be the team of the month for the month of January. There's a lot of teams that had really good months, so we'll have to see who I roll with. I know some people always like to say I like to lean towards the coaches that always come on with me. That's not always true. But of course, I do have some favorites that have always been good to me. But a lot of good teams, a lot of good coaches, a lot of good players in this area. So I'm going to bring Coach on now. Looks like he's a little early, so we'll bring him on. I won't keep him waiting. Coach, how are you?
Hi, Rock. How are you?
I'm doing good. What's going on this morning?
Nothing. How about you? A little church this morning, come home, and a little rock pile.
That's right. You got a little competition, though, because your team is going to be one of the candidates for my January team of the month. And I know the guy up at Notre Dame whose girls basketball team is they're perfect too. So they're a recipient too. So you might have a little competition, but man, you guys have had a great month, a great year.
Yeah, we had a great year so far. It's still got a couple more weeks left that are very important. We had a good stretch this week. We don't play over Regents Week at New Hartford. They don't allow any competition. So our last 6 games were condensed into nine days. And A stretch of that game was Rome, Whitesboro, ESM, and Proctor, all the top 5 teams in our section. And we got through that week pretty good. So it's been a good week.
So when you look at this season so far, 17-0, great, another great year for you guys. When you look at this group, what's been the biggest reason for the consistency this year, and not even this year, just over time?
Probably the buy-in from the kids. We do once the season's over. For instance, last year, the season was over the second week of February with the finals. I give them a month off, and then we do open gyms 4 days a week, all the way until the beginning of the season. Now, I have 2 and 3 sport athletes, but for the most part, those 2 and 3 sport athletes are there 2 to 3 times a week playing volleyball also on top of their sport that they're playing. So the kids buy in, the kids work hard, they really like each other, and they're a group of friends, and they get along well, which is tough in sports now to have a team that really likes each other, and there's not any infighting. And I think that's the big thing. We have good leadership. These kids have been with me for a long time. I got one girl on my team's been on my team since 8th grade. She's an 11th grader. So, they know the program, they know the routine, and they're all really close, and they want the same thing. They want the final goal at the end is what they're striving for.
Yeah, and you talk about some of the balance on your team as far as what the roster's made up of. You got some seniors, juniors, you got a pretty good mix. You got some freshmen. How have you seen the balance of the experience and youth of this team come together throughout the year?
Yeah, our seniors, we have 3 really good seniors that have been with me for a long time. Riley Heenan, Leah Brennan, and Ashley Fisher. And they've really brought the younger kids along. Even last year, we had a couple 8th graders on the team. They're 9th graders now, and they've invited them right in. There's no, I'm older than you. I've been here longer. I should have this position, or I should be doing that. There's none of that. They all get along. They all treat each other as equals. Our number 1 player to our number 12 player all have the same responsibility in the program to get better and to make the program better.
And I want to talk about the RFA. I don't know if it's a rivalry for you guys. I know people this way would say it is a rivalry because you guys have met, I think, the last 2 or 3 years in the Section 3 finals. And last week, as you mentioned, you went through that gauntlet of a schedule, but you picked up a huge win over Rome. What stood out to you the most about that performance?
We competed. I don't know if everybody calls it a rivalry. I don't. I just see it as 2 very good teams that enjoy volleyball and enjoy competing together. Whenever for the last 3-4 years, it's been great volleyball, and that's what you want to see. You want the kids, especially our kids, to compete at a high level, and Rome allows us to compete at a high level, and I think we allow them to compete at a high level, and it makes for a fun watch. If you come to one of those games, you're going to be entertained. It's not going to be slow-paced volleyball. It's not going to be, volleyball that you saw in the 90s. It's fast-paced volleyball. It's 2 teams that really like to compete. And rivalry, a lot of our girls play club sports together, club volleyball together. They know each other. It's not, there's no hatred involved. I enjoy competing against Pete. He's a phenomenal coach. We get along very well. We have a lot of common interests together. We want to, make this sport, something that people want to go out and see in the winter. And we enjoy that. A couple of years ago, I guess it was us and Whitesboro, that everybody thought was a rivalry too. And it was just, at that time we had kids that really liked to compete and compete against each other. And it was good volleyball. It just so happens that, us and Rome have seen each other the last couple of times in the finals, and they have been good games. I think everybody, the Rome people don't know, but I was born and raised in Rome. I started my coaching career in Rome. I played football and lacrosse in Rome. I know everybody out in Rome. I'm sort of like, the outsider, they think, but that I don't think they realize that I'm a Roman. My parents live up on North James Street, and that's where I was raised. So, um, you know, so it makes it fun for me to come back, and people get after me a little bit. That's fine.
So when you talk about last year, RFA edged you guys. A year before, you guys beat them. How much does last year still motivate this group to get back and play for a Section 3 championship, whether it's against Rome or whoever? But how much did last year motivate this group?
I don't know if it motivated the group. I had a reporter ask me that question too. Last year's over. That was February 2025. That's over. Our motivation after that game was just to get better at things that we weren't very good at. And it's a new group. I think I had 3 seniors on that group that graduated, so we had to have 3 other people step in. So we still have some of the same kids, but it's sort of a new group, and we're a different style of play this year than we were last year. Not really motivation. I've won a lot of games. I've lost a lot of games. I told the girls, I'm like, you just got to get better. If we want to have a good, fun season, we want to get better at things.
So, Coach, talk to us a little bit about this team, and I want to just highlight a couple players. And I know you got a good group around you, but Keegan Matthews and Ashley Fisher, how much of those two meant to this team?
Yeah, Keegan and Ashley they mean a lot. Keegan's the one that's been with me since 8th grade. She's been playing since 8th grade. She loves volleyball. I think I kind of flipped her and Ashley because they're big soccer players on our soccer team that go to the state championship every year. And before they started playing volleyball, it was club soccer and soccer. Now all of a sudden it's volleyball. You see their stats, and I know with the kills and everything else, but they're just another cog in the machine. You want to say, they do a lot of stuff. They'll dig the ball. They're timely serves. Good hits. But they buy in. They're talented players. We rely a lot on both of them. Ashley's come a long way. I don't know. Some people might know her story, but last year she had Hodgkin's lymphoma, diagnosed with that before the soccer season. So she was going through chemotherapy during our season. She would go every other week and have a chemo treatment, and she played the whole season last year. But towards the end of the season, she lost a lot of weight and was very tired, and couldn't play the way she wanted to. And now she's healthy and clean bill of health, and she's strong, and she's had a great season.
So, Coach, what's this team need to do to be back in last year and in a couple of years too to go back to play for a Section 3 championship and win one?
I think the way we're playing now is pretty good. We can get better. We need some rest here. We're taking a day off here and there. I just think that, I tell the girls that, you got to stay together. You got to play together. The motto of our girls and boys basketball team is together, Spartans together. And that's what they have to do. A lot of times I'll poke them with a finger and I'll say, hey, one finger is not going to hurt you if I poke you. But if I make a fist and put all 5 fingers together, I can knock you out. I said, and that's what we have to do. We have to play together. We have to be together as one, communicate high, and they got to have fun. I tell them all the time, compete at the highest level and have fun. Because if you're not having fun, you're not going to be able to compete at the highest level. And they've done that, and they've had fun. Our practices we have a couple characters on the team that keep it light, and that makes it enjoyable for them.
So, Coach, I know in the fall you guys had the football program win a Section 3 title. What would it mean to this program and community for you and the girls to bring a Section 3 title back to New Hartford?
I think it would be nice for those seniors. They've been around. Riley Heenan and Leah Brennan and Ashley have been with me since 9th grade. So it'd be nice for them. They won one a couple years back, but they weren't the big dogs on the team for say. So it'd be nice for them. I think, for volleyball in general in New Hartford, I think it would mean a lot, to have some of these 5th and 6th grade girls see that, hey, the volleyball team is successful, as successful as the soccer team or the lacrosse team or softball team, and it may draw some more athletes to our sport, which is what we're always looking for. And I just think it would mean a lot for the kids, because our kids work extremely hard, as I'm sure a lot of other programs do, all year long.
Well, I think between you and Coach Peter and Coach Mango here in Rome, the three of you guys are teaching me some volleyball, even though you guys probably don't realize that, because I told Coach Mango, I said, this is probably one of the sports I probably don't know that much about, but I'm learning as we go. So I'm going to have to come out and watch you guys here in the sectionals, because between the three of you guys have taught me a lot about volleyball. It's getting bigger, which is great.
Yeah, and it's due to podcasts like you and you having volleyball people on, that we can make the sport a little bit bigger and let people know that there's something else other than basketball in the winter around here to watch.
Well, listen, Coach, I appreciate you jumping on with me. Always great to catch up with you, and best of luck the rest of the way. And I'll have to see tomorrow. I release my team of the month, so you guys are up there for it. So we'll see how it goes. Well,
I appreciate
I know the guy in Notre Dame, but his team's making a run too.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, he does. My brother does a good job over there with those sports, and Notre Dame basketball is a pretty tough one to beat out, especially with the Trinkus kids over there. But yeah, I appreciate it, Rock. And tell your parents I said hi, especially your dad. You talk about coaches that have had an impact on your life. Your dad's one of them. I remember talking with him about football years ago when I was a young pup. I've been doing this for 38 years. So it's 38 years back, talking to your dad and Pat Lacqua, and coaches like Mike Warwick and Dick Meese. Those are the guys that really instilled a lot into me and how I coach today.
Well, I appreciate that. I know he's probably listening. I know that means a lot to him, but I appreciate it, Coach. Keep in touch.
All right. Thanks, Rock.
You got it.
Bye.
So Coach Billy Gardner, yeah, I got the opportunity to coach against him. He does a great job with football too. He's the modified coach at New Hartford, so I get to see him a couple times a year at those games. And like I said, volleyball's gotten so much bigger and bigger in this area, and I mean it, because Coach Peter, the Rome coach, was on with me last week, and Coach Gardner today. And then I'll have Coach Mango on here more than likely over the next 2 weeks. I keep telling him I'm going to get him on, and something comes up. But, Coach, if you're listening, we'll get you on here. Probably be the week after, because next weekend I'm not going to be here. But we'll get him on. But I just can't believe how big the sport has gotten over the years, which is great. So thanks to Coach Billy Gardner for jumping on. And it's going to be tough for me to pick this January team of the month, because when I started this thing for December, I had people email me, text me. People have texted me youth sports teams, which I appreciate. And some of them always say, well, he's going to fall back on the same teams because he favors the same. I don't favor anybody, but I do have some favorite coaches and teams that have been really good to me, and everybody's been really good to me. But you always have your favorites, right? Even as a coach, you have your favorites. The favorites are normally the kids that play hard for you. So we'll see. But a lot of good teams, a lot of good youth teams had some really good months of January. So we'll see. That'll be released tomorrow. Again, if you're just tuning in, you can catch the replay on YouTube, Facebook. It'll be on Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify. I added the barcode up top. I just got some Rockpile podcast merchandise in. That'll be up for a little while, so you can check it out on my Facebook page. Click the link. You can scan it up here. It'll take you right to the page. You can get whatever you want. So I want to make sure I thank Tyler Schauff. Best of luck to him. Thanks again to Coach Billy Gardner. I will let you know the team of the month tomorrow, so make sure to follow me on Facebook. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on TikTok. Follow me across every social media platform for the Rockpile Sports Network. So on behalf of the entire crew here today on the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch, enjoy your weekend. Be safe, be careful, and we'll tune again here next week to the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch. Have a good weekend, everybody.